Hello and welcome to this edition of This is Glendale. I'm Bett Kooris, and with me today is Addison Clipson. Welcome, Addison.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
I'm sure most of you who are watching know who this gentleman is, but maybe you want to introduce yourself. How long have you been in the village?
I moved here in 1964, and I lived in Clifton before that. And before that, I lived on my parents' fruit farm in northern Ohio.
Wow, that's quite a change in urbanity, I would guess.
That's right.
Yeah. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about with you first is your experience with designing porches here for Glendale to more beautify some of the houses that existed. And one of the ones that I'm most particularly interested in was the one we're in now, 180 East Fountain. This is a relative recent addition for you, isn't it? I mean, within the last 15 years, I would guess?
Last 10, 12 years.
10,
yeah.
12 years, yeah. Viewers are going to be able to see throughout just how gorgeous this is and what a wonderful architect Addison is. But there are some other impressive houses to which you've added porches, and one that I'm thinking of is at 380 Albion, where the Nipperts live now.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Nippert wanted a porte cochere on the front of his house, the purpose of which he would be hauling large pieces of furniture on a van, which had to, the porte cochere had to be high enough to allow that, and also to make it fit the house.
Right, yeah, it's really beautiful, and frequently when they would have their big parties, I could walk my dog and see all of these gorgeous people in gorgeous cars driving through that porte cochere. Among some other things that you've done is a multifamily on East Sharon, 110 East Sharon, next to the Geary's house.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't originally a multifamily. It is now.
Yeah, that's next to Judge Silly's house. And the Gary's house, the brick house.
That's on the corner.
Yeah, on the corner. Mm-hmm.
Right. You were telling me that you put 2 porches on that house. Why?
Oh, well, on the Gary house, the porch was falling apart, wood construction.
Right.
And so we put a double entrance with two stairs opposing each other to a landing by the front door.
Yeah, it's very dramatic.
Yes. And as soon as it was finished, somebody crossed the street in a pickup truck loaded with something heavy and struck it and knocked it all to pieces. So what you see there today is the second one.
The second iteration. Right. It's funny. And porches are not anything you've limited yourself to. You actually designed several single-family homes here in the village, correct?
A few, yeah.
Right. 85 East Fountain, is that?
Oh, that's Mrs. Vickers' house?
Yes.
Dr. Vickers'
Dr.
house.
Vickers, yes. That's a beautiful house. You did a wonderful job of making it look like it had always been there in terms of the design and the age look. So.
Well, it had to fit in with 2 older houses.
Right.
There, and it was a difficult site. From the street, it sloped rapidly downward.
Uh-huh.
So there's very little room for an extra building such as a garage. So the garage is actually at floor level of the main house and attached to it.
Uh-huh.
And the backyard, or back garden as the British call them,
right,
was down below a full story.
Right, yeah. It makes for a nice basement entrance. And
yes, it does.
Right, yeah. The museum, GHP Museum,
yeah.
Your hand is all over that, isn't it?
Well, it was not in bad shape when our historic organization received title to it, but it lacked things such as toilet rooms, storage rooms, modern electricity.
Uh-huh.
And but other than that, there's an old depot is essentially intact.
Right.
And the unfortunate part was that the facilities for black people were relegated to a small room on one end of the depot.
Uh-huh.
And that small room is now devoted to plumbing facilities.
Oh.
And anybody who wants to come to the museum can use any door they want to.
Exactly, yeah, right, yeah. And also you mentioned the Quinn Chapel. You renovated that or you designed it?
Yes, over on East Willow.
Right.
The place was falling down structurally, and I became familiar with it because they had a wonderful program of providing chicken dinners cooked there to order and delivered to your house for a low income.
Uh-huh.
The ladies that ran that were wonderful. They
Oh,
really
I'm sure.
were,
And
yeah.
it was the best fried chicken, no doubt.
So we structurally rebuilt it, and it's in good condition now.
Right, yeah.
And Reverend Jordan was the head pastor there, and we wound up designing and building the new Quinn Chapel in Forest Park.
Excellent. Yeah, that's great. You got to move your genius elsewhere. And speaking of chapels, St. Edmund's Chapel, you designed that for the.
Well, it was sitting there about to become part of a subdivision on the St. Edmund's property.
Right, right.
And forces were at work that wanted to save it. And so I laid out the foundations next to the village library.
Right.
And hired a mover, and we hauled it over there and set it on its foundation that's there today. I had great pleasure of attending a wedding in the chapel. Yes.
That's great. You get to revel in your handiwork.
Well, the chapel is the handiwork of children who were recruited to help build it back when it was in the St. Edmund's property.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's great. Shifting gears yet again, you introduced me to the fact that you have designed clock towers. That's a passion of yours at some point in your career. And in northern Kentucky is the closest one for us, I guess, right?
Let's see, the closest one would be in Global Park in downtown Covington.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
That's the Carroll Chimes Tower in the park there.
Right, yeah, I'm familiar with it.
That was, the tower was named honoring Governor
Good.
At that time.
Yeah.
And it has 42 bells in there. And I'd gone to Holland to buy the bells.
Really?
Yeah.
Tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
And the bells are all named for neighborhoods. And the biggest bell is named after Julian, the governor,
Okay.
called the Big J.
Oh, okay.
And the littlest one weighs 16 pounds.
The littlest is 16 pounds.
And it's named Geraldine,
And Geraldine was whose wife?
my first wife.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that, but I'm
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, that's lovely. That's
Right.
lovely. Staying in northern Kentucky, you had a great deal to do with Northern Kentucky University structures, right?
Yes, I was handed one day admission to a wheat field in northern Kentucky, just a few miles out of Covington,
Uh-huh.
and said, "This is where we're going to put the new university." And there was an old farmhouse on the property, which I used for an office.
Good.
And the first building is Nunn Hall.
Yes. After
And
the Governor Nunn, right, at the
after
time?
Governor
Yeah.
Nunn.
I grew up in Kentucky, so I know all of this KY stuff.
You're all right. And that was for Governor Nunn, and it also was done on the sly. People did not know it, but the state was making a deal with the Chase Law School in Cincinnati, which was housed in the YWCA downtown.
Uh-huh.
And one night they sneaked it out of there into the new Nunn Hall, where it is today.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that that's what caused that change in location. Huh. Well, it's good.
So it was a multi-classroom building to take care of the former Northern Kentucky State College,
Okay.
which is now gone.
Right.
And after that was completed, there was a need expressed for a science building, which was the second one we built there.
Is that what they call the Fine Arts Building?
No,
No?
those are to come.
Oh, sorry.
Well, that was the second one. The third one was the Fine Arts Building.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth one was the Administrative Center. And because the need became great, the fifth one was Steele Library.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And you had a hand in all of those?
in all of those. And then we did the administrative building next to it. And the final one was the, what's the name of it? Well, it's an athletic facility.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And that one, inside the entrance vestibule, before people got into the arena itself, there's a curved stainless steel wall above the entrance doors that's curved. And there's a pattern of electric light bulbs buried in it.
Is that your design?
Yeah.
How cool.
Well, there's a message there. And the light bulbs are laid out on this reflective surface with a message. And the layout was similar to the punch cards that used to be
Right. Yeah, I remember those in the
for bookkeepers to use.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And a couple of years later, some student figured out what the message was.
And that was the first person to acknowledge that
Yeah.
what was your hidden message?
That it had a message at all, yeah.
What was the message?
God bless America.
Well, how cool.
Isn't that nice?
That's
Yeah.
really nice. Okay, I want to wrap this up with another Northern Kentucky incident. I read about your wanting to do a kinetic sculpture as a more personal, presence on campus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was referred to as the Dust Devil, maybe?
Oh,
Yeah, and
there's actually three. The first one was a stainless steel sculpture set in a very small pool of reflective water. And it had a kind of a whirling motif to it. That was called the Dust Devil.
right, that was the one I read about. I didn't know about the other two.
Yeah, well, the Dust Devil provided a short dust up with some people because in the middle of this sculpture of swirling polished stainless steel elements was what looked like a soft drink can.
Yeah, a beer can.
I called it a beer can, and
Yeah.
everybody got upset about it. We don't have beer on the campus.
Right, I knew that at that point.
Yeah.
It's still not.
It's still nice. And then at the far end of the science building, there's a series of polished stainless steel crystal-like, some as large as a football, with multi-sides that are polished, with some uplights mounted in the base, and they throw a spangled light pattern on an adjacent wall, and among those crystals, I call them, is a round disc that's orange with black spots. The sculpture is called the Crystal Window Box, and the little orange disc is a ladybird.
Oh, how beautiful. So did you design all these and had them fabricated per your instructions?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And the other one is the Nomanium Polaris Nordum. Bad Latin, but nevertheless, it's a 20-ton or more concrete sundial. And they wanted to have a focal point in the middle of the campus.
Okay.
So what better focal point than put a timepiece? So this is a sundial, and there's concrete cubes that weigh 500 or 600 pounds each, spaced around it. And when the shadow of the sundial strikes each block, there's a dot on each block, and you can note that dot and then walk over to the nomanium, which is the element that casts the shadow.
Uh-huh.
And there's a stainless steel plaque, and you can read the date that you read that and go down the column and read the apparent time, and you can get Eastern Standard Time to the minute.
Okay, did you come up with that on your own, or is that something
that's something I conjured up.
Holy cow! You are amazing. I wish we could talk longer, but I think we've gone through our allotted time. This has been a delight listening to the wonderful things that run around in your head.
Fall out of it or something.
Fall out of it, right.
Well, it's been a pleasure to be in a position to do this.
Yeah.
Because, I love this village, have since 1964.
Right, right. Yeah, you've contributed hundreds of thousands of hours, I know, to this village. And I just wanted the public at large to get to know you a little better.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'd like to know many of you more better.
Thank you for watching This is Glendale. I'm David Lumsden, the village's administrator, and I'm happy to answer any questions or talk about a topic that you or your neighbors may have questions about on future editions of This is Glendale. Reach out to me at my email below, and I'd be happy to talk more about it for a future release. Thanks.